We're in.
Cool, Tom. Listen, my first question is, do I need to put my microphone in front of me like you do?
Jacob, if you ever want a career in marketing, the first mandatory step is to get a fancy Blue Yeti mic so you look authentic. But as a sales engineer, I'll give you a pass.
You give me a pass. It's fancy. It's just not Blue Yeti or
There you go.
The other brand. So, well, Tom, listen, thanks so much for talking to me. We've been working together for a long time, and you're my favorite marketer, but you're also a recovering SE. So tell me how you ended up. First of all, I remember you as a CMO, then a product marketer, and now a CMO again. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so being an SE was my favorite job ever by far. At some point in my career, which unfortunately doesn't have many years left, but I would love to be an SE again. My path into marketing was I was an individual contributor SE, and I got put into SE management. I managed like 12 people, and I absolutely hated it. One of your friends, Alberto, was on my team. Greg Lowenthal was on my team. Good friends of ours, and I loved them, but I hated dealing with sales leaders complaining about why can't all of my AEs get somebody as Alberto or Greg? And my job became just literally dealing with complaints all day. So I had to move out of being an SE leader. So the natural spot for me was, as somebody who knew my domain and was comfortable talking to people and presenting, product marketing was a natural place to land. I could never carry a quota. I would suck as a sales rep. I can't remember people's names. I would be horrible at forecasting. So marketing was the natural place. Product marketing was the natural landing spot, because product marketers and SEs kind of do the same stuff in some ways. You're a little bit closer to the front lines than I am as a product marketer, but it's that, we're trying to solve the same problems. So it was a good place to land. And then from product marketing, one day I just was sort of handed all marketing and had to figure it out.
That makes sense. And, maybe this will be a topic of our conversation, which you just mentioned. But if Alberto, our mutual friend, learned from you, you did it really well, because I know Alberto's approach to the question, which is like, kindness. Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you an ST for your discovery call. Let me just ask one question first, and he's really giddy about it. So if he learned from you, you did it well.
Yeah, he's much better as an SE, both as an SE and as an SE manager than I was. But I just sense dread if I were going to continue down, because the SE manager role is so different than being an individual contributor. And now it's so metrics focused. When I was managing SEs, we would talk about demo strategies and qualification strategies, but we never looked at metrics. And now it's like, you look at more metrics, you look at as many metrics as you look at for BDRs and AEs as you do SEs. It's a brave new world out there.
It's true. And I personally am a big fan of some of the metrics, although they're very instinctual still. You cannot make that many decisions based on them, because you're still kind of making decisions after the AEs or the sales leaders. So that makes sense. But we're going to definitely talk about demos a lot.
Good.
But you and I did some legendary demos together at Acquia, for example, right? One of them, I remember, that led us to a leader status in the Forrester Wave, if you remember, that we did together. So talking about demos, about you and demos, what makes a great demo for you specifically when you see a demo right now?
Yeah, it's clearly it's storytelling, right? A demo is just a framework for telling a story. And I think we were particularly good because we focused more on the story than the demo. The demo was just it was like the set of a movie, right? And we set that story up in a way where we really knew our audience. Just like any storytelling, you've got to know your audience. If you're Disney, if you're writing movies at Pixar, you know your audience. We knew our audience. We knew how to tell a great story. We knew that at the end of the day, the product needed to be the hero of the story, but that didn't necessarily mean it was the product that you would experience, quote unquote, out of the box, right? Mm-hmm. We took some creative liberties to make sure that the story shined through, sometimes in spite of the product. And, maybe we can debate that a little bit too. But I think our success was we focused on the story and the product came with us, not vice versa.
Yeah, that reminds me of, I was actually helping somebody with a demo today. And the demo started with, it was an audio, and then the text below it said, it takes 20 to 60 seconds to generate a result from the demo. And then the audience has to wait the 60 seconds.
No.
And I said, instant gratification. You're not lying if you start showing it right now, because the product is asynchronous anyway, right? So why are you waiting? Since you wouldn't be lying, it's not detrimental. So
my favorite story ever was we had a demo once where, and there's a couple of us SEs, I don't think it was Alberto, but we're in a meeting and we knew our product at some point would hit this slowdown where if we didn't restart the server in the middle of this demo, it would start taking 40, 50 seconds for things to happen. So I was doing the demo, somebody was effectively SSH'd into my laptop. And when I would start to sense things slowing down, I would sort of look over at them and give them a wink, like a literal wink. That would mean they would go run the restart command on the terminal, restart the server. I'd pause a little bit and things would be fast again. Like, is that cheating? Maybe a little bit. Did it support the story? Absolutely, right? It's the equivalent of CGI in a movie. This was demo CGI. We had to do a little bit of magic. At the end of the day, the story shined through.
As long as you fix it in production. That's
what fix it in production. Look, these are not, this is the other thing too. In my era, this is prior to cloud. We were supposed to be running enterprise software on these ThinkPad laptops with a gig of memory. It was not a really great, cloud has made it so much easier to be an SE. You don't have to worry about infrastructure anymore. My goodness, in my era, you know, everything was on hard drives and people like Alberto and I would carry around like 6 or 7 different hard drives filled with different demos. We'd have to literally unscrew the hard drive from the ThinkPad, put the new one in. You know, I know you're too young for this era, Jacob, but my era, man, it was brutal.
So I was going to say, first of all, welcome my cats to the recording. Second of all, you're dating yourself. And third of all, I was lugging servers in the trunk of a car. So
there you go. Even better. I don't think I ever had to lug a server around, but I certainly had my library of hard drives.
Yeah, I'm known for a flair in demos sometimes. And I was demoing Red Hat cluster. And I had 2 servers in the trunk of a car. I took it out. And the idea was, on stage, I would pull the power cord from one of the servers.
Love it.
And like put it in my hand and say, see
what I would have done. I would have set up a mock scenario where I like tripped over the power cord and removed it and like hammed it up like an actor, but that's just me.
There you go. So tell me about, now you're a CMO, you're no longer doing demos, you're probably receiving demos, but like for you as a CMO, and I know the sales process is not demo, right? That's not an equivalent, but demo is still an important part of the sales process. So as a CMO, how do you look at demos? How do you look at kind of like what you need out of demos?
I mean, so I can demo our product at Recorded Future, maybe not extraordinarily well, but like I pride myself. I'll go to a trade show like Black Hat or RSA, 2 big trade shows in our industry, and I'll sit in that trade show booth and I will be in the front of that booth. When somebody walks up and says, hey, what do you do? I'm going to go pull that person over a laptop and try to give them a demo. I really miss doing that, but I also feel like it's the best way to learn for me. Like it's a way for me to learn how to know if my story is working. It's the best way to know if the demo supports the story I'm trying to tell. So I pride myself on that. Our product marketing team can all demo the products that they own. So it's still a big part of my world, and it's still a big part of the world at Recorded Future. In fact, we talk a lot about demo to close, which is, can we skip the traditional proof of value step in our sales cycle by having a really great, well thought out demo? For us at Recorded Future, where what we're really doing is gathering intelligence from all over the internet and all over the dark web, it's a little bit harder because you can't set it up the same way that you and I could set it up. There are some scenarios that we can get really, really good at. So, where there's it's a different style of POV than you and I are used to, where we had to like import fake data and make that data tell the story. Our team here at Recorded Future has it harder, but the net result is still the same. We try really hard to have the demo prove our technical value so that we can, move faster through a sales cycle.
Mm-hmm. And so, that I have a specific point of view on demos early in the sales cycle, which we can talk about. And it's kind of starting with you, like a CMO. I think that there needs to be something called pipeline generation demo. We used to call it marketing demo, but it's probably pipeline generation demo, right?
Love
and
it.
Then once you generate a pipeline, it goes into whatever the stage is it that you call, right? Discovery or pipeline stage, right? And stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or qualification stage of the deal. And I actually think that an AE needs to be able to do a 5-minute demo there.
100%. So totally agree. It always weirded me out. Like we talk about products that are supposed to be easy to use, yet we're bringing in the deepest experts we have in our organization to be able to think back to Acquia. We're selling to marketers, yet we're bringing in super nerds like you or I or whoever in Ron Northcutt into these conversations. It just didn't make sense. It always should have been the AEs who were able to go through and say, here's how you set up a multi-stage deployment, or here's how you create content and publish it out. So it should never have been SEs. SEs are great for the sort of second round of questions you get where you've got to go show integrations, you've got to show specific workflows, but I'm 1,000,000% of demo early and demo often. And as an SE, I was never, I know it's sort of like SEs get pissed off when they have to demo to somebody who's unqualified. I never had that problem as an SE. I always had fun demoing. I never got bothered by that, but I know some people do.
Yeah, and since it's a recording, I'll say that I call it the art of hypothesis, and I'll post it here or here, right, wherever the recording is going to be. But I also talked to a sales rep 2 days ago, and we joked that like if there's a request a demo button on a site for a company, it's a sure sign you're not going to get a demo.
It's the most insane thing. And we
Right.
have one of those on our site, and you will get a demo, but you will also go through the standard BDR qualification process. What I will do at some point over the next couple of months is I will make it, because like not everybody who clicks that request a demo button is going to get a demo. Like there are cases where, unfortunately, if you're a student looking to learn more about intelligence, I can't commit resources to you. So that's not fair. But there are plenty of ways for us to know who someone is before they click that button. We use a technology at Recorded Future called Sixth Sense. There's lots of other ways of doing it. Like we know if there's a high intent, good fit account who clicks that demo button, I don't know that I need that person to go through a really heavy duty qualification process. I would love to get that person into a demo as quick as possible. And a quick story, I worked at a company called Ectron just about a decade ago. We were known for this thing we called instant demo. That's how we marketed our demo. We called it instant demo, and you would see it all over emails. And literally, it was the least instant demo I've ever seen, because what it really meant is you would go through like 3 stages of qualification before you could actually see a demo. I have never seen a bigger bait and switch than what we used to do at Ectron with this instant demo concept. It was awful.
Yeah, well, and I agree. You can't dedicate time to everybody, but I don't know if you've seen that a lot of technology has evolved from 20 years ago when we were doing this, and there are tools how you can do demos instantly without actually participation from people like you, right? So maybe that's one of the ways how to give an online demo to the students that just want to learn more.
But if there's, yeah, and if there's a qualified prospect, somebody that you aspirationally would like to sell to, and there's plenty of ways to know what those companies are, get them into a demo in minutes. Imagine the experience if I actually clicked a demo button, and as opposed to, what happens today at almost every company on the planet, you click that demo button, you put in a bunch of stuff, that notifies a BDR. If you're lucky, that BDR will follow up with you in 5 minutes, but maybe it's 15 or 20 or 30, or maybe it's a couple of hours, or maybe it was a Friday afternoon, they'll get back to you Monday. Then they'll schedule it. That's going to take a couple of days. Then maybe it gets moved because there's a schedule conflict. So, it's a week later, maybe you're getting that demo. Imagine if you click that button, and we can get into a Zoom meeting within minutes. Like that should be aspirationally what we strive to do. And because of you, Jacob, and because of this conversation, I'm going to figure out a way to make that happen, because it's an awful experience today.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's not acceptable to request a demo and not get a demo right away, So
especially if it's somebody that we aspirationally as a company want to sell to, we want to get into that demo right away. Like while the person's interest is hot, like a week later, maybe I've seen 3 competitor demos and I'm just going to eliminate you. Like it's insanity how complex we make these processes.
Yeah, I agree. So my last question for you, as a recovering SE, current CMO that's a buyer from time to time, as well now, right? What's your advice if I'm an SE doing a demo to somebody like you, giving a demo? What's the best demo you've seen recently, and what was the one thing you would have me do? And then
I saw a demo from a company called RevSure.ai, super small startup. They're trying to, I don't know if you have looked at Clary at all, but Clary is this like magical sales tool that helps sales managers and sales reps and sales leaders better understand their pipeline, how things are going to close. They uses math to figure out probabilistically what your quarter is actually going to be. No one has ever figured out the Clary for marketing story before. So this company gave me a demo and effectively showed me a Clary for marketing where I could look and forecast pipeline production. Like at current course and speed, if we don't scale up more campaigns, we have 0 shot at hitting our pipeline production goal. That was amazing to me. And what they did, and the thing that's the trick for someone like me, is I hate getting value sold to. I know you and I are big fans of sales methodologies, but when you say stupid shit to me, like, so Tom, as a CMO, you must care about pipeline. Well, yeah. Like these guys, like, are you, do you care about the success of your sales organization? Like, don't ask me, skip the like 15 minutes where you tell me stuff I already know. And let's get into the stuff that really, and I'll decide. Like, I'm an expert. I've been doing this for a long time. If I think your demo's a fit, I'll figure it out. If I don't, I'll let you know and tell you why. Like, I think too many people like spend way too much time in slides telling me stuff I already know. Like, here's what I really want to know. Tell me about your company. All right, are you like early stage, late stage? Tell me who your other customers are. Are they like me or not? Maybe tell me the problems that you solve, just so we're in the same, we agree we're in the same room together, and then show me the product. And I'll decide. Like, we assume our buyers are stupid And I think when you do that, and I think we did that a little bit at Acquia. We would sometimes spend too much time on stuff they already knew. We were selling to DevOps pros, like they knew their stuff, or marketers and they knew their stuff. We should have, I still think it's hard to get into the demo fast enough, to be honest.
So it's interesting because at the risk of getting into a very long discussion now, like resolve the dichotomy for me though. You're saying, look, let me decide, let me do, like, just tell me what the product does. But at the same time, as SEs, we teach this idea of like, you gotta say the so what, you gotta say the value, right?
You can say that stuff. The demo, that's the storytelling. Like, use the demo to show. I don't need to see it in a PowerPoint bullet point. Show it to me during the demo. So the thing I just showed you, from my experience working with other clients like you, saves you 3 hours a day in having to go through and put things through dev stage and prod. Like that's the, like I think the demo can be the medium for having those value statements. My problem is those value statements on a PowerPoint slide don't add me much value.
Yeah, that makes sense. And how do you feel about this from AE perspective? Like, you just described everything that an SE should do, right? But an AE, we just defined that AE needs to be able to do demos. What's the one advice?
When I was an SE, I remember vividly back in like the year 2000. You probably weren't even born then, Jacob, but I was an SE back then. And I had an SE named Rick. I had a sales rep named Rick Wathen, who's unfortunately no longer with us. He was incredible. And he would walk into a room and he had this scraggly voice. And he'd say, all right, guys, like Wentworth, all right, I brought the donuts, I got the coffee going, Wentworth, you take over. And like, he did nothing. And, but he was an incredible, closer. His claim to fame was end of quarter. If you hadn't closed the deal, he'd go into your parking lot, park behind the purchasing person's car so they couldn't leave the parking lot. He literally would do that. But anyway, he'd go in a room and just put me and say, all right, Wentworth, you go. That's not the right answer either. I always hated that when AEs would just like bring the donuts, bring the coffee and tell me it's my turn to go. What I really want AEs to do is I want them to be like, like when you watch sports, you've got a play-by-play and color commentator. Like AEs can cover things that I've missed. AEs can like reinforce points that I've made that I didn't, like a good AE-SE combo work together like a pair, finish each other's sentences. No, like the worst thing you can do as an AE is tell an SE to click somewhere that they never clicked before. Hey, Tom, go show this thing. No, that's the dumbest idea ever. But somebody who kind of like knows once you work together, I have another point I'm gonna make in a second. The AE can be very valuable. And also the AE can do things like relate additional customer stories. So what Tom just showed you is very similar to how this other client is using Acquia to solve this problem. I always strongly prefer, and it's not the way you do it these days, the sort of one-to-one AE to SE mapping. And most companies can't afford that model anymore. But when you had that model, or 1-to-2, you would really build a relationship and trust with your AE so that you could be in a room and you knew exactly how it was going to go down. We lost something, we went to a different model. That pairing isn't what it used to be back in my era.
Yeah, companies just can't afford the 1-to-1 ratio anymore,
But in doing so, I remember in my era, it was one BDR, one SE, one AE, and it was incredible because we knew exactly the kind of meetings our BDR would book. We knew they were going to be qualified. We knew they were going to be great. So we didn't have to really worry about it. The AE and SE and I, like we all knew what we were going to say. And now it's like, it's a wild card. Like you have these SEs and AEs who've never worked together out in these meetings. That doesn't seem great to me.
I actually wonder if the ratio is not constant. And I have not written this down, but I might need to. Like, if I have a ratio of 1-to-4 of reps versus SEs, right? Like it's not constant. It's the early calls, the rep will have so many more of those. So maybe the rep needs to be able to do more there, but then later on in later stages, I as an SE can afford to get on every single phone call. Right?
That's the way. Maybe that's the way we get to that solution long term. Is the business models can't afford it maybe the way they did, but like then ask the AEs to take more of it on. But when you get to some stage in your sales process, that tight partnering makes a whole ton of sense to me. Like because if you don't have that, I remember being in meetings where AEs would try to take me off script. Like I, in my mind, had what I wanted to get accomplished and what I was prepared to show. And then the AE would say, well, my other SE would go do it this way. Can you show this other thing that I had never done before? Every bad demo I ever did is because I got taken off script by somehow, whether it was my own fault, a client took me off script, or most often an AE took me off script.
Yeah, I agree with that. So Tom, this is awesome. You're always a pleasure interviewing you. You're so passionate about all of this.
Well, Jacob, we could do this all day. We could get a couple cups of coffee and we could go for it. We could actually set the Guinness World Records for longest podcast ever.
Can we write a book?
We could write a book. We could write a book interactively on this Zoom hangout.
So I asked you a lot of questions. What's the one question you'll ask me?
What do you think? So you and I worked together for a long time. I've worked with some great SEs and I put you in that, S tier. I'm not going to say who my favorite is because then I'll make a bunch of people mad. But I'll put it this way. When you and I worked together and I had my choice, you were the person I said, if I have this big Gartner meeting coming up, I'm picking you. What do you think made you, and because you and I are different, like I'm more of a showman. I'm more of a babbler. You're more analytical. You're less crazy, maybe. What made you a good SE?
You know, a lot of things. I'm kidding. But I think that
Humbleness made you a good SE.
No, I think that there's one thing that I do as an SE that I've learned to do consciously that used to be unconscious, and I think makes me a better SE. And it might sound counterintuitive, but I've learned how to use my weaknesses in my favor, in a sense. And you personally might not call it a weakness as an American, but frankly, my accent is a weakness of mine, right? My English, because
Yep.
I just can't find the words for everything I want to say. So I've learned to kind of disarm and be humble about it in meetings by calling it out, right? Whether it's a really hard word to say, I'm going to say, you really need to do internationalization. I can't say that word. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Right. And it just makes you humble and disarms people. Right.
Self-deprecating humor. I'm the king of self-deprecating humor. I always feel like that's a great way to disarm an audience. Like when you get up there in front of a group of people and you make fun of yourself, or like when I say something stupid, I'll just stop and say, like, what did I just say? That's the dumbest thing I've ever said. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just me. Maybe it works for you and I, but I agree. Like, I think you disarm an audience. There's nothing worse. Here's my other rule is I never wanted people to see me as the smartest guy in the room. Like, I think too many SEs and AEs come in and they talk down to their audience and they think they're smarter. Whether that's true or not doesn't matter. I wanted somebody to I wanted everyone in that room to feel like they were the smartest people in the room and I was just there to guide the conversation.
And I think that you just need to stay true to yourself, right? Like you're exaggerating, but like don't say idiotic stuff, just self-deprecating to a degree. Right? And at the same time, like stay true to yourself, because there are techniques that we all use and might not even realize. Like if you're the rep and I'm the SE, I will probably dress down a little bit compared to you, right? And it's not that I'm not gonna wear a suit and a tie on purpose, but I'll wear the jeans and a shirt. And when I start the demo, you roll up your sleeves, right? Those are all signals that you send in that are not self-deprecating, but they're signals you're sending about yourself. And I say that knowing, stay true to yourself.
On the dress code topic, Jacob, I was in that meeting with Rick Wathen, my former AE. I was in a meeting once, like when I was really young, and I guess I rolled in. I was probably out late the night before, knowing me, and I rolled in the meeting with a wrinkled white shirt. And like I pull in the parking lot and he's like, Wentworth, I'm not going to that meeting with you that shirt. We're going to the J Crew and buying you a new one. Like I tried to roll in the wrinkled white shirt. He literally would not let me go into the customer. We went across the street to thankfully we were near a mall and he bought me a crisp new white shirt. So I've learned my lesson now. I now at least will iron any clothes I wear before I go to a big meeting.
Or tuck it in.
Yeah, or tuck it in. But my shirt it was like literally right out of the hamper. Like it looked embarrassingly bad. But anyway, I learned a lesson.
Yeah, well, I think we should stop there. So, Tom, thank you so much. This was awesome. Have fun.
Jacob, thank you. Thank you for having me. And looking forward to see how this comes together.
And how your demo online comes together. So there's no longer.
No, I will commit to this audience that I will deliver a much better demo experience for recorded future prospects as a result of this, because what I do today is not good enough.
There you go. All right, cool. Thanks.
Cheers.